Most people who grew up poor in the 1970s didn't know what they were missing, and they assumed everyone lived the very same way. Back then, stretching a dollar was an art form with creative and sometimes funny solutions for being short on cash. Looking back, it's easy to see the struggle, but it's just as easy to smile as you think back on your own childhood. So, here they are, the signs that you might have grown up poor in the 1970s. The creative solutions. In a lot of homes, the TV's channel knob broke off at some point and never got replaced. Instead of buying a new TV set or calling for a repairman, families just grabbed a pair of pliers and kept them on top of the TV as a permanent solution. Turning the dial became a careful operation, especially if the picture was fuzzy. Everyone in the house learned how to use the pliers just right, clicking through the channels slowly, hoping to land on one that came in clear. Wearing patched clothing wasn't anything unusual. When jeans or skirts wore thin or ripped, especially at the knees, parents would sew on a patch instead of tossing them out. Iron-on patches were popular, but sometimes they were stitched on by hand with whatever fabric or thread was around. Clothes were handed down, worn out, patched, and worn again. It wasn't about fashion. It was about keeping things going as long as possible. It wasn't uncommon for a family car to have trouble starting, especially if it was an older model. If the battery was weak, pushing the car to get it rolling and then popping the clutch was the go-to method. One person would sit in the driver's seat while others gave it a push until the engine caught. It was frustrating at times, but it was just another part of daily life when you didn't have the money for repairs. During the winter, bread bags served as makeshift waterproof liners for boots. If your shoes had holes or weren't insulated, you could slip a bread bag over your socks to help keep your feet dry. It wasn't the most comfortable setup, but it was what families used when buying new boots wasn't an option. The food we grew up with. Buying bread from the day-old shelf was common in families trying to stretch a dollar. It was usually just slightly less soft than the fresh loaves, but perfectly fine for toast or sandwiches. No one really thought of it as less than. It was just a practical way to keep the pantry stocked without spending extra. Government assistance programs provided things like large blocks of processed cheese and powdered milk to help families get by. The cheese worked great for sandwiches or even cooking. Powdered milk was mixed with water and stored in the fridge, though it didn't taste much like the real thing. These foods weren't fancy, but they helped stretch the grocery budgets during tough times. Bologna sandwiches were a lunchbox regular for kids in the 70s, served on plain white bread. They were quick, cheap, and filling. Some families fried the bologna in a pan to give it extra flavor. It wasn't gourmet, but it was what many kids grew up eating day after day, and most didn't think twice about it. If you showed up at school without lunch money or a packed meal, the school would give you a plain peanut butter sandwich. It was dry, basic, and came with a carton of milk if you were lucky. It wasn't something kids looked forward to, but it was better than going hungry. Most kids who had to eat it didn't complain. They just ate quietly and moved on with their day. The unspoken rules. Writing a check before payday wasn't reckless. It was strategy. Parents would keep a close eye on what day they got paid and time the check accordingly, knowing it would take a day or two before the bank processed it. It was just one of those everyday ways people made things work when money was tight. When birthdays or holidays rolled around, many families got creative with wrapping paper. Instead of buying expensive gift wrap, they used the comic section of the newspaper or cut up brown paper grocery bags. The results were simple, but they did the job just fine. Sometimes kids even decorated the plain bags with drawings to make them feel more special. In many homes, the thermostat was strictly off-limits to kids. If it was cold, you were told to wear a sweater. If it was too hot, you opened a window, but not for long. Leaving a door open, even for a few seconds, was sure to get a sharp reminder from a parent, trying to keep heating and cooling bills low. These rules weren't meant to be mean. They were just practical. At the start of the school year, teachers often asked kids to write about their summer vacations. For those who hadn't gone anywhere, it meant finding ways to make the ordinary sound exciting. Playing outside, going to the city pool, or visiting the cousins became the highlights. You didn't realize until later that some kids went on big trips. You just figured everyone's summer looked like yours. Looking back, these weren't just signs of being poor. They were signs of being resourceful. These memories are a reminder of a time when we valued creativity over convenience and effort over expense. We were a generation that learned to make do with what we had, and we didn't think twice about it. What was your experience? Let me know in the comments if I missed anything. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more memories from the past.